All right. This is about Robert E. Lee Akin. So, first of all, I guess, where was he born?
Well, he was born there in BB, I guess.
He grew up in BB? Didn't live
Around
anywhere
there.
else?
Around BB, I don't know if he was born out at the farm or, out there at Antioch. I don't know if he was born out there on that farm or if he was born in town. But he grew up in town.
So presumably he went to school in town.
Yeah, he went to school some, but he didn't finish or anything.
He didn't finish high school. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't go in the military or college or anything.
No,
right?
no. He bummed around. He hoboed with one of his friends.
What does that mean?
They jumped trains.
Jumped trains?
And one time they went to Dallas because his sister, Mary.
Obviously before he got married,
yeah,
right?
Before he got married, yeah. He ran around with his friend, what was his friend's name? Herbert Rogers. He ran around with Herbert Rogers, and they hoboed some. And then they had a store together in Little Rock. They just did a lot of stuff together before, they got married. And he used to visit Herbert down he lived in Little Rock. Him and his wife lived in Little Rock. They didn't have any children. And Herbert's father's name was Roy Rogers. And they had, I don't know how many brothers and sisters Herbert had, but somehow they adopted or raised a black kid along with their kids.
Huh.
And
so then,
no.
What do you do when you hobo? Why would you hobo? I guess just to travel?
Yeah. Back then, it's like hitchhike, when there was a lot of cars, you could hitchhike, but back then there wasn't a lot of cars. So they jumped trains. And, you've seen in movies where they'll get on jump in a box car, ride somewhere.
Right.
But anyway, I don't know.
So that was when he was younger, I guess.
Oh,
so
yeah.
How did he meet your mom?
Well, when Mother, I guess, went to school as long as they usually went to school out there, she went to BB and got a job in a hotel. And back then, when they had people that stayed in a hotel, it was usually people that were salesmen coming by or something, and they stayed in hotels and they fed them. And she worked in the kitchen and cooking meals, and it was Doss's Hotel, and it was there in BB. It was a 2-story white, frame building, and they met there in BB, and got married.
Okay. So how did your dad make a living then?
Well, when they first got married, they moved out and lived down on the farm, out from Antioch. You've been out there, hadn't you? To the farm.
Know.
Well, Daddy Buck owned that farm, and he reserved the mineral rights on that farm. He sold it to Uncle Jim, Daddy's brother, and he reserved the mineral rights, and we've got money off of it when when they wanted to lease it to drill on, but we hadn't got any in a long time. And they lived out there, and Bobby was born out there. And then they moved because Carolyn was born. She was born in another house. It wasn't very far from there, but it was across the creek. And I think the Edwards, they call that the Edwards place after that, but Carolyn was born there. And I think I was born down where they lived when they moved closer to town. And Daddy worked. He started working in Jacksonville during the war at it was a factory of sorts, but I think he worked with electricity. He learned how to wire.
This is your dad, right?
Yeah. He learned how to wire a house for electricity. And he worked, I don't know how long he worked there, but they also had that big barn out at the back. I don't know, you don't remember it.
No.
But anyway, they had a big old barn on that place when they moved down close to town in the house that I grew up in. Well, there was, at that time when they moved down there, it was a shotgun house. Just a little frame shotgun house. Had a living room, a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. And then when us kids got older, Daddy built another room on the back, on the other side of the kitchen, for the boys. And that was the boys' room. And during that time, we had electricity, and we had running water, and we had a TV back then.
How old were you?
I was born there, I think, in that little shotgun house.
And you had all that then?
And we had running water when we lived there.
So that was the late 40s that you remember then?
Well, I don't know, but I think when I was in the 7th grade, they moved that house across our field where the cows, would graze, to another road behind our property and put it up over there. And we lived over there while they were building the other house, the one that Buddy lives in. And so we didn't have running water over there. We had a pump. We had a well, and we had to get water out of the well, and we had an outhouse. I mean, the bathroom was still in the house, all right, but we didn't have running water.
When they moved it?
Well, after they moved it, yeah, we didn't. Right. But it didn't take very long. That probably that 1 year, Carolyn remembers she was in the 8th grade, so I was in the 7th. And when they got that house built, Mother and Daddy went out and bought Carolyn and I a brand new bedroom suit. And they were so proud of it. And we...
were y'all sharing a room?
Oh, yeah, we always shared a room. Yep.
Yeah.
And the boys always shared a room. And Grandpa Fields lived with us a long time. And he had a rollaway bed, the one that's out in Mississippi in the barn.
Mm-hmm.
That's the rollaway bed that Grandpa Fields slept on. And anyway, it was...
So what was your dad's personality like?
Well, he wasn't much of a talker. Neither one of my parents were much talkers. Our family did not discuss stuff. We didn't play games together. We didn't discuss things that, we should have, but even things that happened. I remember when I was a senior in high school, I was in my room, and Carolyn had already moved to Little Rock, and I was in my room getting ready for bed, changing clothes and everything. And back then, we didn't have blinds. We may have had curtains, but we didn't keep them pulled. Anyway, I had took my clothes off and put my pajamas on and turned the light out. And when I turned the light out, I saw a silhouette of a man at my window. And this is one of the frightening things of my life. And I said, "Daddy, there's somebody at my window." And so he got up and put his clothes on, and then he went to the front door and turned the front porch light on, I guess. And he said, "Come on around here." And so the guy came around, and he said, "Well, I thought I was home." I guess he's going to climb in the window. He thought he was home. He was drunk. And he lived across Bull Creek down out Highway 61, And Daddy carried him home. He just carried him home, and Mother and I was up, and we was worried, Oh, something's going to happen to Dad, knock him in the head or something. But he came back in a little while, and he just said, well, he was drunk. And he wasn't scared of anybody, I don't guess. But,
So
we never talked about that.
Yeah.
That Buddy was home, and he was in there asleep, and he never knew anything about it, I don't guess. And of course, Carolyn didn't. She was already away from home, and we didn't talk about stuff. We didn't say, "Oh gosh, that was scary" or anything. We just didn't talk.
So he wasn't necessarily funny or just serious guy all the time?
No, he wasn't very funny or anything. He was a hard worker. He raised cotton and he raised corn, and he had the milk barn. Cows had to be milked twice a day, morning and night.
Did you do all that?
No, I didn't do it. Mother washed all of the equipment, and helped him, getting them in and out. And I guess she washed the cows' tits, before he put the milkers on. We had electric milkers.
Yeah.
And, everybody around BB, most of the kids that we knew, not most of them, but a lot of them, their family had a milk barn. And those kids grew up helping milk, at the milk barn. And the boys, Bobby and Buddy, when they got through milking, they swept the barn out. You had to put down lime. You had to use a shovel to get up all the cow piles. And then you put down lime and swept the barn out. It was concrete floor. And that's where we learned to roller skate, is in that barn on the concrete floor. We had those skates you tone, you put them on your shoes. Anyway, I don't know. Dad's personality, he was kind of quiet.
So how did he act with y'all, with his kids?
Well, I was a very tender-hearted guy. I'll never forget one time Grandpa Fields was living with us, and his son, Bill, came from Michigan, and he was going to carry his daddy back home with him. Well, Grandpa Fields was out under the walnut tree at the back, sitting out there, and Daddy went out there, and he was out there crying, and he said he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go back to Michigan with him. And Daddy just said, well, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You're going to stay here if you want to. So he did. And he was tender-hearted about other things. He heard about somebody, down on their luck and got hurt doing some kind of sawing down trees or something. And he went over and gave him money. I don't know.
So give me the rundown then about, I know he died by a drunk driver. So tell me the full story on that.
Well, we were home, and you were just about to turn 1 year old. It was September the 8th, 1974, and you were going to be 1. No, you were already 1.
Yeah.
Your birthday's in August. Yeah. Well, yeah. You had just had a birthday.
Yeah.
And they came over to Memphis, Mother and Daddy, and one thing, they brought you a birthday present. And I don't remember what it was, but they came right after your birthday, and well, they didn't make it back home.
What kind of car they drive?
Oh, I don't remember. It was a small car. It was fairly new, but I don't remember what kind of car it was. We were, well, I don't know. We were late afternoon, I think. And Ken Utley called. And he never called over there. And he called and he said, is Ken there? And I said, yeah. He said, can I talk to him? I said, yeah. I knew something was strange. Anyway, Ken got on the phone and he told him that they had a wreck and it killed both of them. And I was listening, but I could only hear what Ken said. And he said, both of them? And I guess he said yes. And so he got off the phone and he told me, and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
And it did not kill the drunk driver?
No. The story was he got out of his vehicle and started running down the road. And there was some teenagers in the, well, at that intersection there was a little, I guess it was a little store there. And I think they sold gas, and they had stuff in the storage building, which was the store. And there was some teenagers in there, and of course when it happened, it was right there. just right there at that intersection, right in front of that store, and they came running out. And, I heard somebody say, when seat belts came out, and they said, well, I've never been to a wreck where people got killed that had their seatbelts on. Well, they both had their seatbelts on. And Mother was like driving, because Daddy had drove from Memphis to Lone Oak. And when they got to Lone Oak, got off the expressway, my Mother started driving, and she was driving. The car hit them on the driver's side, on her side. Okay, her butt slid over, and her head slid down, and the car door slid in and trapped her head. And if they'd had the jaws of life to cut that door off and got her out, she probably wouldn't have died. But she was alive. But Daddy must have been killed instantly.
And he was on the passenger side.
And he was on the passenger. I don't know. I don't know if something came through the windshield and got him, or just what happened.
All right. Well, how about anything else
Well,
about Robert?
I don't know. I know he worked hard. I mean, he had. He was not really educated, but he was smart. I mean, he could take the old John Deere tractor apart and put it back together, and it'd run. And he was always thinking about how to make money, and he did. He had 2 farms, and he had corn crops and cotton, and he didn't just farm on his farm. He rented land out from other people and had cotton on their farms. And there was a thing on Facebook, I don't know if you saw it, but it was on the BB page, which you don't get, but it was a picture of the BB newspaper back in the 50s, where they let us out of school for 2 weeks to pick cotton. And that was awful. Why in the world they let us out to pick cotton?
Did you?
Sure.
Those 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah. We picked all of Daddy's cotton. Of course, he hired other people. It wasn't just us. He hired people to come in and help. And kids, that their parents didn't have cotton patches. Well, they were glad to get out because they wanted to make some money. And we were just doing it. But Daddy feels sorry for us because we had to work. Sometimes he'd pay us, or we'd do something special. He liked to carry us down to Windy Beach and Willow Springs, 2 swimming places outside of Little Rock. And Willow Springs was owned by a girl from BB's husband. She and her husband owned that. And Bobby actually worked there a couple of summers when BB boys went down there and worked to make money. And he was a lifeguard. Anyway, it was, Daddy was, he was good. He was good. He liked to do things for us, even though we had to work. I know we always complained because we had to pick up potatoes. We hated that job. When they plowed up the potatoes and we had to get out there and pick them up. So we'd go to town and get a case of Cokes or something like that. So we'd have something special.
All right. Well, if that's all for Robert. Oh.
Oh, is he on?
Oh, something was on him. Oh, sorry, buddy.
He rocked forward and got on it.
Yeah, got on his little leg.